Corsican Brothers, based on the novel by Alexandre Dumas, written for radio by Eric Scott and a George Edwards production. Never did a novelist of his era captivate the public so completely as did Alexandre Dumas when he wrote The Corsican Brothers. In a matter of months after its publication, several plays by different authors were written, produced, and were running in London and Paris, all based on this Dumas masterpiece. Certainly its theme is a fascinating one, that of twin brothers, one wild, untamed, sometimes cruel, the other gentle, intelligent, and kind. Both living in different environments, and yet, in spite of their contrasting natures, possessing between them a strange telepathic bond. Paris, during the reign of Louis Philippe, the Paris that inspired Victor Hugo and Georges Sand to write, the Paris that was set to music by Frédéric Chopin and Franz Liszt. Paris may have been owned by genius such as this, but on this special night, Paris belongs to Louis Prévost. In the pretentious house in the Rue Gabalis, he adjusts his cravat in the ornate mirror, and the handsome reflection that gazes back at him is aglow with excitement and expectation. As he struggles with the neckcloth, his lips repeat over and over again a certain name. Émilie Latouche. Émilie Latouche.
Enter. Oh, it's you, Pierre.
At our last, Louis. No footman inside downstairs. I knew I'd find you here, but I expected you to be ready.
It's this cravat. It's the third one, Pierre. I keep creasing them.
It's very unlike you, Louis, to worry about your cravats, or about any part of your dress, for that matter.
I want to look my best tonight, Pierre. I must.
Not for the old marquise, surely. Oh, she's so short-sighted that she wouldn't know even if you appeared in riding habit.
No, it's not our hostess. But I learned only today, Pierre, that Mademoiselle Émilie Latouche will be at the reception with her aunt.
Oh, so it's Émilie again.
I'm beneath her notice. I know I am, Pierre. But I just can't get her out of my mind. I thought perhaps if we had even one dance.
Listen, Louis. Why should you be beneath the notice of Émilie Latouche? Don't you realize that you're one of the eligibles of Paris at the present moment?
She doesn't know I exist.
Well, she ought to. After all, your uncle and aunt are counted among the rich. You're their only heir. I know half a dozen fond mammas who are chasing you at the present moment, just so that they can bring home a prize for their unmarried daughters.
It's Émilie I want. But I know what it will be, Pierre. As soon as I arrive at the reception and go and look for Émilie, the bow will be too deep around her.
Louis, I've known you ever since you were a boy of 12. I'm nearly old enough to be your father. I know you're clever. I know you're intelligent, witty. You have a large circle of admirers. And I know that when the time comes for you to take over your uncle's estates, you'll be able to do so with merit. But there's one thing I can't understand. You haven't any strength of purpose.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, apparently you're desperately in love with Émilie Latouche. Why don't you take your courage in both hands and declare yourself?
She'd laugh at me. There's Gustave always with her, and Francois, and René, and Paul, and Charles Devine.
Oh? Just try it and see.
If I but dared. If the opportunity comes, if we're alone for 5 minutes tonight, I will. But, oh, Pierre, I'm so happy just at the thought of seeing her again. Her lovely fair hair, her skin so smooth and so clear, and those eyes, blue like the Mediterranean. I'm happy just at the thought of seeing her, Émilie Latouche.
Louis Prévost has mentioned the blue of the Mediterranean, but he little realizes that on this same Mediterranean lies an island which is closely linked with his destiny. Corsica, with its wild, rugged mountains, its tangle of green forests and yawning valleys, and its turbulent streams. Corsica, land of the vendetta. In the center of this mountainous isle, in a fort-like house in a small village set high up among the crags, another young man sits before a mirror. But this is no ornate gilt mirror. It is edged with plain deal. And this plainness is apparent throughout the sparsely furnished room. But stay. The reflection in this mirror, it is exactly the same as the reflection in the magnificent mirror in the Paris house. These two young men are identical, except that one is dressed as a man of fashion. This other is in the peasant costume of Corsica, with his green cloth riding coat, his grey cloth trousers, his leather boots and spurs. He bears a different name, Lucien de Franchi. This young man is hurriedly buttoning his riding coat as a commanding grey-haired woman dressed in black hurries into the room.
Hurry, Lucien, please hurry.
I've been thinking. Wouldn't it be better if we waited another half hour?
But Griffo said he would be back here for supper. He's 3 hours late. And you know what we heard?
Oh, Griffo was able to take care of himself.
That may be, but he can't match the cunning of the Guidici family. I tell you, Lucien, I heard for certain that several of the Guidici are passing through the mountains not 20 miles away, perhaps at this very moment.
Oh, if only I knew where.
I fear that if they came upon Griffo unawares, they'd kill him.
But Griffo is not a de Franchi.
Maybe not, but he's been one of our retainers all his life, and his father before him. They'd kill him for that.
Oh, very well, Mother. I'll give him just a half hour more. Then I'll go up as far as the pass and see if I can find him.
You be careful, my son. If the Guidici came across you unaware...
I'd fight to the death. If only I knew where they were crossing the mountains. I'd avenge my father this very night.
And your father's mother. And the other 25 who have fallen to the Guidici during the vendetta. It's a bitter thought for me, my son, to think that now we are the only two de Franchi left in existence. What's the matter with you tonight, my boy?
Oh, nothing.
You seem thoughtful, quiet. Usually when we talk of the Guidici, your eyes blaze. You lose control of yourself. Why this change tonight?
Oh, I don't know, Mother. There's a calm about me tonight, just as though... Well, tonight for the first time, I wonder why it is that we've gone on through the years, our family in a vendetta against theirs. One generation after another. Until we almost forget what it was that started the feud.
Lucien, you have never spoken like this before. Would you try to avoid your obligations, the honor of your family?
Never. Haven't I sworn that? Oh, Mother, it's just that... Well, tonight there's a certain something in my heart. A lightness. Just as though something very wonderful was going to happen to me.
It's one of those strange moods which beset you so often. So unaccountably.
Perhaps. No, but don't worry about Griffo. I feel he's quite safe.
You've always been a strange boy, Lucien. These unaccountable moods of yours. A very strange boy.
Oh, there you are, Louis. What are you doing hiding in this anteroom?
Hello, Pierre.
What are you doing here?
I wanted to be alone. There's a lightness in my heart tonight. I feel that something very wonderful is going to happen.
Not if you sit in here by yourself. Go inside and dance a measure.
I don't want to dance.
What? With so many lovelies in attendance? I haven't seen you all the evening. I was wondering what had happened. Did you see me?
Yes, and what a vision. That blue dress. Some kind of blue.
Mm-hmm. Celestial blue crepe with silver ribbons.
And her hair, a myriad of loose curls. The ribbon, too. Pierre, her card was full. Not one dance for me, just as I told you.
Then why are you so excited? I see no evidence of gloom.
Gloom is the most wonderful thing that's ever happened. She took pity on me, Pierre. I explained that so many times have I asked her to dance, and so many times have her cards been full. And tonight, why, I don't know. But she's consented to meet me on the terrace after supper at midnight. Pierre, we shall be alone together for 10 whole minutes.
Congratulations.
She was sorry her card was full. She said so, and I know she was. That's why she agreed to meet me. And during those 10 minutes, I shall tell her everything that's in my heart. Oh, Pierre, I'm so happy, so excited. All I can think of is midnight, the terrace, A heart that has so wanted to unburden itself. And the moon. It's full moon.
Full moon. How still everything is outside.
Lucien, he's back. Griffo's back.
Griffo?
Striding along the track. You're staring out of the window. Can't you see him? It's as clear as day in the bright moonlight.
Oh, yes. Oh, at last. Griffo! Griffo! Welcome home!
So my fears were unfounded. You must have some sixth sense, Lucien. You were so unruffled, not at all worried about Griffo.
Oh, I'm too happy to be worried.
But why, my boy?
Oh, I don't know, Mother. There's no reason at all, I suppose. And yet, perhaps it's the beauty of the full moon.
Anyone would think you were in love.
In love? Oh. With whom, might I ask? There's not a young, pretty girl in this district.
Come in, Griffo.
Oh, you don't know how glad my mother is to see you. Where have you been?
What kept you?
I was nosing up news. I ferreted the secret, madame. Lucien, I have amazing news for you. It'll give you the opportunity for which you've been waiting for years.
What is your news? Quickly.
I delayed because I heard that two of the Guidici family will be coming through the pass tonight.
The Guidici?
Old Dino Guidici and his daughter Marianne reached the pass at midnight.
Midnight?
Yes, Lucien. And with this full moon, with the light as clear as day, you'll be able to take your vengeance, ambush them, and shoot them both dead. This Marianne is the daughter who has sworn to wipe the de Franchi family from the face of the earth.
I've heard of her. The beauty of the Guidici family. She is more vindictive than all the rest put together, Lucien.
My boy, this will be a superb vengeance for you. Midnight, tonight. Is this not wonderful news, Lucien? It was only by accident that I discovered what I did.
You have a nose for secrets, Griffo.
One of the peasants in the lower village gave me the clue. It seems that Dino Guidici and his daughter Marianne traveled to the coast to meet Dino's brother, who has lately come from Italy. Since they are bound for Ajaccio, they have to travel through the pass.
Wonderful. Wonderful, and with the full moon. Lucien, are you not listening? With the full moon, you and Griffo can ambush them with perfect safety and with confidence.
Yes.
I have never seen Marianne, but she is our worst enemy, Lucien. She is as beautiful as a Venus, I believe. It was she who swore openly that she would never rest until we were all dead. All the de Franchi.
By all, Mother, you mean your own self?
And you, the only two left. Sometimes I wonder the Guidici do not realize their wish. There are 29 of them, Lucien. 29 against 2.
But Lucien is worth 30 of them, madame. Has he not a name in Corsica? The finest shot, the most swift of foot, the best forester? Lucien is worth 30 of...
Make sure that your musket bullet finds its mark tonight, my son. That is all I ask.
And beware of Marianne. If Lucien is the best shot in Corsica, Marianne is surely the second best. I've heard she is more fierce than her brothers.
And when it comes to beauty which has helped to further the ends of the Guidici right through the south.
You say that the Guidici and his daughter will reach the pass at midnight?
Aye, Lucien. They left the village on the other side of the mountains but an hour ago. If we're to ambush them, we must hasten straight away.
Without any delay, Griffo. I'll belt my cartridge box and my gun on the instant. Oh, what a glorious night. Look outside now. The windows light up as though the sun were out there shining. Now, I won't keep you a moment.
Watch, Lucien. Won't you, Griffo? It's strange tonight.
Lucien, madame? Queer?
Very strange. As a rule, when the Guidici are mentioned, he rages and the blood rushes to his head. But tonight there is something tranquil about him.
You ask me to look to him? Lucien will look to me, madame. Why, if half a dozen of the Guidici came with two that we meet tonight, he'd be equal to them. How much time is there left, madame?
It is now 10:30.
An hour and a half to wait.
Louis.
Hello?
Louis, I thought I'd find you out here on the terrace. You're very unsociable tonight. You know the Marquise has been asking for you. She misses you on the floor.
I can't tread a measure tonight, Pierre. I prefer to wait here on the terrace and think about what I'll say to Amelie when she comes.
Are you sure that she'll be here?
She promised. It gives me hope, Pierre. Why should she meet me out here, away from all the others?
You'd better watch that dour-faced aunt who's chaperoning her. She'll spoil it all.
What I have to say to Amelie will not take long. I'm glad that it'll happen like this, Pierre. All these weeks the secret has been locked up in my heart. Even if Amelie claps her hands to her ears and tries to me to say no more, I'd at least have unburdened the heaviness which lies here. 10:30. An hour and a half.
Why not come and watch the dancing? Why don't you pay your respects to the Marquise?
My thoughts are too far away. Out here with the lights of Paris in the distance and a silver ribbon of the Seine in the moonlight. I feel I'm in Amelia's world. I shall wait until she comes.
And so Louis Prévost waited in the brilliant moonlight for the lovely young girl whom he held above all others in the world. A girl who at this moment danced a measure in the gracious ballroom of the Marquis Santé, cynosure of so many admiring eyes as she moved through the bejeweled gathering in her celestial blue crepe with the silver bands. Meanwhile, this same moon shone on the wild tangle of undergrowth which the Corsicans call the Marquis. A tangle which to the ordinary traveler seemed to be an impenetrable green mass, but which to Mme de Franchi was a terrain of tracks and shortcuts and treacherous paths. Through the black and silver spaces, underneath the green trees, he and the faithful Griffo urged their horses, sometimes dismounting where the ways were precipitous and steep, other times quickening the pace where the ground was smooth, and with no obstacles such as stumps, boulders, and rushing streams to obstruct their way. Lucien, his face serene, his head erect, suddenly turned to Griffo.
Why am I so happy tonight?
Sometimes, Lucien, it is said that the unaccountable moments of happiness sometimes bring great sadness. Your gun is loaded?
You are frightened that I might fail tonight?
It would not be wise to underestimate the Medici. Both Dino and his daughter are deadly shot.
This daughter, Marianne. Have you seen her, Griffo?
Once. Only once. It was fete day in Corte. Had she known it was I, had she known that she passed Griffo, who had served for so many years with the de Franchis, she'd have turned and stabbed me on the spot. Oh, that I'm sure.
What was she doing in Corte?
Well, it was the day of the festival. She and her father, one brother, and two uncles all came along. Oh, there was one other. The man to whom she is betrothed.
It will be a morning for him. Do you realize, Griffo, that the Medici have killed 18 of our women in the last 100 years? I have never killed a woman before.
To kill her is to kill no woman, Lucien. She has the strength of a man, the fierceness of a beast, I've heard. Oh, look, Lucien. There's the pass, all bathed in moonlight. And there's not a cloud in the sky. This night has been made for you, Lucien. A night that will make history for the de Franchis.
Oh, what a pity it should be like this. A moon that turns this world around us to silver. The deep purple of the past. The sparkling of those turbulent waters which flow through. And yet, we must kill. Kill. It is our destiny.
It is the destiny of most Corsicans. Has not the vendetta raged from one end of Corsica to the other all through the years? We are a warlike people.
Oh, yes, but for the first time I ask myself this question. Why have we made war one against the other, instead of uniting and fighting those who come from outside?
Outside is where I prefer to wait, mademoiselle. Here on the terrace.
I did not see you in the ballroom at supper time. I looked among the crowds. You were nowhere to be seen. I would never have come out here except that your friend, Monsieur Godet, came to me. He told me you were waiting.
You do not know what this means, just to be able to talk to you, mademoiselle.
It was such an unusual request, monsieur.
But why unusual?
I hardly know you. Why, I don't think we've even danced together, have we?
I know we haven't, mademoiselle. If we had, perhaps I would have been able to tell you during the dance what I want to tell you now.
What is it, monsieur?
Mademoiselle, why have you refused to dance with me?
Refused? But, monsieur, I have not refused you. It is just that, well, there are so many.
That's right, so many. And I, among those many, am not to be noticed. I realize that.
Who said I did not notice you, monsieur?
You mean?
I remember the first time we met. It was in the salon of the Duc de Carine. When we were presented, you spoke not at all.
I was confused. Yes, I remember the night so well. I was confused because I'd seen you for the first time, mademoiselle. The lovely face, the flutter of your hands. My heart beat so rapidly, I could find no words.
You seem to have no trouble now, monsieur.
Emilie, even though we hardly know each other, couldn't you guess what's in my heart?
I have known for a long time.
You've known?
Yes, I know the look so well, monsieur. You are not the only one.
Once again, that cry.
But amongst those who admire, you are one, perhaps, who may be favored, monsieur.
Emilie.
Louis.
You mean this? Oh, Emilie, my love for you is something that I feel I cannot bear. It's torture to be away from you, ecstasy to be near you. I've waited for hours outside your house just to see you come out. I've stood in the rain at the opera when I've heard that you're attending. All these things I've done because of my love for you.
I am flattered, monsieur, and touched.
Your face is so beautiful in the moonlight. So soft. Like a pale blue mist. Like a beautiful pale blue mist. And your lips.
My lips are yours, monsieur. Oh, it strikes midnight. I should go indoors, monsieur. My aunt, if she sees me thus.
It is midnight by the watch, Lucien.
Eh?
Are your thoughts miles away, monsieur? It is midnight by the watch.
Yes. I think I heard it strike.
Huh? Oh, does the watch strike midnight? Oh, you're dreaming.
Dreaming? Oh, perhaps I was for a moment. I was in another world, a world of fancy and music and lovely buildings.
Listen. Only one horse. I hear only one horse.
Perhaps there's been an accident. Perhaps father and daughter ride together. If so, our task is easier, much easier.
Soon that horse will come round the bend between the trees. If only one rides, Lucien, you must fire the shot for the honor of your family. There is one rider only. A woman.
So this is Marianne Gadici.
Quick, your finger on the trigger. She'll be on us, quick. If she sees us, this tigress will not hesitate.
No, I cannot. Her face, Griffo, like a pale blue mist. Like a beautiful pale blue mist.
She's seen you. Shoot, Lucien. Shoot, or she will shoot first.
I can't.
Oh, what is the matter with you?
Oh, no. She's too beautiful.
She's a tigress, and she'll draw on you if you don't. Look out, Lucien. Be careful. You she-devil. Look, she's winning a horse now. She'll get away. Shoot, Lucien. What are you doing?
Not so fast.
Let me go. Let me go.
Down from your horse or I'll break your arm.
What do you want of me? If it's money, there's some in the haversack. Not much for pigs such as you, but if you want the money, take it and let me go.
We don't want the money, mademoiselle. We want your life.
My life?
You know who this gentleman is? This gentleman who has your arm in a vice-like grip? Two with the two pins, break it in two.
Who are you?
I am Lucien de Franchi.
De Franchi? You're a de Franchi?
You heard what my henchman said? Would you like a broken arm?
You filth. So it was planned. You were waiting for me.
You and your father. Where is he?
He didn't come. Providence has cared for him.
But only for a while, tigress. The de Franchis will hunt him from his lair and kill him. His own gun is accounted for 3, and yours, we've heard tell mademoiselle, you would wipe the de Franchis out of existence.
They will go. This filth here and his mother. What chance have you against us? 29 of us.
28 in a few minutes, mademoiselle.
What of it? Well, why don't you kill me?
Kill me now.
You have no fear, mademoiselle?
I do not fear a de Franchi, if that is what you mean. It makes me ill to be so close to you. To have your hand touching mine as it twists my arm. Kill me and put me from my discomfort.
Oh, you don't fear death?
My only regret is that I didn't see you sooner. Had I been in your position and you in mine, there would have been a kill. You show poor prowess with a gun.
Perhaps. On the other hand, mademoiselle, perhaps I do not want to kill you.
So, you would torture me first, eh? And do you think Mme de Franchi would cry out for mercy? Never, do you understand? Never. Even if you rend me apart, I would be happy to die in this way. If it were only to disappoint you with your vicious planning.
They call you Tigress. It is a very good name.
Well, what harm and torture have you devised? What is it to be?
Even in hate, your face is beautiful. Why does beauty and viciousness go hand in hand? Oh, Griffo, quickly, one of the horses slipped loose.
I'll fetch him, but watch her, Lucien. Watch that Harrison.
I've heard so much about you ever since I was a little boy.
And I about you. You are lucky to be alive, monsieur. When you were a baby, and my father and uncle surrounded your house and burned it down, it was fortunate that you were not taken as well.
Perhaps unfortunate for you.
Floater. Oh, how I hate you.
Stand away from me so I can look you full in your face. And don't go near that gun. You know what that'd mean.
I know a bullet is for me sooner or later. So why not fire now as I stand?
I can't kill you, Marianne. No.
Are you crazy?
No, I'm not. I just can't kill you.
You're mocking me. It's a form of your torture.
No. I always thought when the first time came that I wouldn't hesitate, Marianne, even when it came to shooting a woman dead, but now I just can't do it.
So, this is Lucien de Franchi. This is the hated de Franchi I've heard so much about. The deadly shot, the expert woodsman, the mighty wrestler, the brave, the fearless. Ah!
It would almost seem that you invite me to kill you. Do you want to die, Marianne?
Want to die? It's something I've never thought of. Living, dying. I've been brought up with only one thought in my mind. To avenge my ancestors.
And because you are at my mercy and I let you go free, you hate me all the more.
I think that would be impossible.
Well, you'd better go. And go quickly. When Griffo comes back with that horse, if he sees you and hears of my decision, he may not be so lenient. His fingers will itch for the trigger of his gun.
You're a strange man, Lucien de Franchi.
I'm in a strange mood tonight. Perhaps it's the full moon which cloaks and softens a face that must be hard in the light of day. Now go quickly. Mount your horse if you want your life. I can hear Griffo coming back.
Goodbye, and thank you for nothing.
Thank you for nothing?
I am in your debt for my life. It's the last thing I would have wanted. From a de Franchi.
Like a pale blue mist. She who was so hard, so bloodthirsty. Her face in the light of the moon is like a pale blue mist. Like a pale blue mist. Your face is like a pale blue mist. Darling Amelie.
Hold me closer, Louis. If only time could stand still. If only this moment could last forever and forever.
It will, darling. It must. When your father comes back to Paris, have I your permission to pay my respects?
I'm young yet, Louis. Only 18. Father will hear from no one, not yet.
But when the time comes?
When the time comes, perhaps it might be possible.
Perhaps?
This has all happened so quickly, Louis. You and I, here on this lovely terrace, in this lovely moonlight. You who so barely know me.
But I do. I've followed you with my eyes whenever we've been in the same salon together. I've waited for a glimpse of you at every opera, at every theater, at every soirée that's ever been given in Paris. Amelie, promise now, at this moment, while we're here away from the others, that you'll marry me.
Oh, there are many difficulties. My father and...
And what? You do love me. You said so.
Yes, but let us get to know each other just a little better. Could not that be possible?
Possible? I'll never leave you alone from now on.
You'll detest me at the end of a week.
Oh, Lucien, you're ill. What are we to say to your mother? What are we to say to the
Oh,
world?
leave it to me, Grippo.
Your mother will be beside herself.
Oh, yes, I know. Oh, perhaps I did wrong, Grippo, but whether it was the madness of the moment or those eyes.
The eyes of a tigress.
Grippo. Till one of the Gadici 67 years ago killed 2 women of our family, we've never thought to wage this vendetta against the women.
Your mother thinks differently.
Oh, I know Marianne should die, but somehow I've failed at the Franchi miserably. Haven't I, Grippo?
Oh, it was a moment of madness.
Oh, I dread to face my mother, but I must tell her the truth.
There's only one thing for it, Lucien. You must put it down to one of your strange moods.
That's the truth of it, Grippo. It was a strange mood.
Huh? It was?
Yes. Haven't you yourself remarked about me this very night? And so has my mother. For some unaccountable reason, I was happy all day, light of heart and of footstep, until this very moment. Now I feel depressed, gloomy. A black mood stealing over me.
It's because of the ordeal which lies before you, Lucien. The ordeal to face your mother. I would not be in your shoes now, even if I were to call the whole of Corsica my own. Marianne may be a tigress, but your mother, when you tell her the truth, she'll be transformed into 1,000 devils, and all tearing at you at once.
We're almost at your house, Louis, and you haven't spoken. Tired? It's 2 o'clock.
No, I'm not tired, Pierre. It's just a black mood.
Black mood? You should be the happiest man in Paris. Didn't Amelie give you her promise?
It was almost a promise. In that space of time on the terrace, Pierre, it's something that I'll turn over and over in my mind for the next month, relishing each minute, each second of the ecstasy.
Then why so gloomy, since you were so successful with Mme Latouche?
Gloomy because I'll be desolate for a whole month, Pierre. She's going away to the country.
Oh.
I shall be left alone in Paris.
Oh, so that's it. What a boy of moods you are. All day walking on air, the light of love in your eye, and tonight...
Oh, it will pass. It's only for a month.
A month? A month? Louis, perhaps I can solve your problem.
You? How?
Just a moment. I'll see you to your door. Wait, coachman.
How could you possibly solve my problem?
I think I mentioned that at the end of this week I'd be taking a well-earned holiday from my writing, Louis.
Yes, you were contemplating a sea trip.
Mm-hmm. I'm combining business with pleasure. There's an island in the Mediterranean where many strange customs are prevalent, including this extraordinary vendetta warfare.
Vendetta?
Yes, it's a place called Corsica. I've arranged to go there to holiday for 3 weeks. Since you'll be alone and desolate in Paris, why don't you come with me? Well, Louis, say you'll come.
Amelie may come back sooner than expected.
She told you so?
No, but I'd be willing to wait here and hope.
Oh, Louis, my boy, you're in love. Very much in love. Perhaps too much.
Too much? I could never be too much in love with a girl like Amelie. But don't let's stand here, Pierre. Come inside. Perhaps a glass of wine before you go home.
Well, Louis, I am a little weary. It's been a long evening. So many chattering people at the Marquise's. But you, lucky man, you avoided it all.
I hope the Marquise didn't notice. But I just couldn't help it, Pierre. When I knew that Amelie was to meet me on the terrace, I wanted to be away from that chattering crowd. All those young women.
A great many of their mothers missed you, Louis. Matchmaking mothers.
I know. So long as I've not offended the Marquise.
She had so much to do, poor thing, that she wouldn't notice anything.
Ah, the fire's burning brightly. The servants must have expected me home at this hour.
Perhaps your uncle is still up.
No. These nights he goes to bed early. He's not very well, my uncle, just now. Here's the wine for you, Pierre.
Thanks, Louis.
Pierre, I've read your books, and often you've spoken of love, but never have you conveyed the feeling that I have in my heart at this moment. I'm wondering if you've ever been in love yourself.
Me, in love? Yes, Louis. I was once. She was Italian, with the most beautiful smile I've ever seen. We were engaged.
But you didn't marry?
She died. Sudden chill. 3 days in bed, and it was all over.
You never told me this before, Pierre.
It's something I can never bring myself to mention. But now, to see you so much in love, it takes me back to my day when I was as old as you, Louis. Please take this advice from an older man. Don't love too deeply.
Why not, if the girl is worthwhile, as Amelia is?
Because if anything happens, the blow is almost too much for one human being to bear.
And you loved as I do?
If not more. That's why I suggest that during this month when Amelia is away, come with me to Corsica. Oh, I've heard a great deal about the place from a friend. You know, the writer, Prospero Marimi. He tells me it's the most amazing island in the Mediterranean. The strangest customs, wildest mountain scenery.
I'm not in the mood for wild mountain scenery. I think I'll stay, if you don't mind, Pierre. Perhaps a letter or two while you're away might serve to lessen my loneliness.
If you had not told me the story yourself, my son, I would never have believed it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mother. I'm ashamed of myself now.
And so you should be. A de Franchi, to send the Guidici away. A Guidici who might one day come to this house and cut your own mother's throat.
Oh, please don't.
I speak plainly, my son, because it is plain speaking that you want. Come into the study. There is something I would show you. You stay, Griffon. I would rather speak with my son alone.
Yes, madame.
Look, here on the walls, my son, the evidence, the proof of the heroism and bravery of your ancestors. This dagger, for instance.
The dagger of San Pietro.
It has been in our family 300 years. Was given to one Napoleon de Franchi by San Pietro himself. Did you forget this dagger when you let Mariana Guidici go free? Did you forget that San Pietro and your ancestor fell into a Genoese ambuscade and defended themselves like lions?
You have told me the story of them. San Pietro lost his helmet, and the Genoese horseman was about to strike him down with his mace when my ancestor plunged his dagger into the Genoese.
And the horseman, wounded, put spurs to his horse and fled, bearing the dagger of Napoleon so deeply embedded in the wound that it could not be pulled out. It was then that the great San Pietro gave your ancestor this dagger, perhaps the most magnificent piece of Spanish workmanship ever put together. You remember the demonstration your father gave?
Yes, Mother. He pierced 2 coins with it, one on top of the other.
And then there is the sword of Paoli, which hangs next to the dagger. Another evidence of de Franchi bravery. And these carbines. Do all these things mean nothing to you, my son?
Oh, Mother, I stand before you cowed. But perhaps I can atone for what I've done.
How?
I gather that there is to be a meeting of some of the Guidici family in Ajaccio. That is why Marianne was riding through the pass this night. Mother, perhaps if I could go to Ajaccio and await my opportunity, who knows, one of the Guidici may separate himself from the other people, and then I could strike. Oh, I must do something to take that look of contempt from your face. Oh, Mother, I'm not a coward. You know how I hate them. You know how I fight them to the last man.
I know, my son. It was a moment of madness. But all your life you have been unaccountable. These fits of depression, moods of high delight, all for no reason at all. If you must clear your conscience, go to Ajaccio. Seek out at least one of our enemies and ease your conscience.
Meanwhile, in Paris, Pierre Godet was making preparations for his trip to Corsica. Since he was a writer of no mean ability, his name was well known in Paris.
Many people called on him the day after his interview with Louis to say goodbye. On the morning of his departure, he was surprised when Louis arrived at the house and declared that he would go to Toulon to see him off on the boat. Making the journey by coach, they arrived at last at the docks, and half an hour before the boat was due to sail, Pierre made a surprising suggestion.
Louis, why didn't you make up your mind to come to Corsica after all? You're here at the quayside. The boat pulls out in less than half an hour, and in 20 hours we'll be in Ajaccio.
Don't tempt me.
Well, why not?
In the first place, I haven't packed a bag.
Oh, does that matter? In Corsica, Prospero, marry me, tells me, the peasants wear very poor clothes. They don't worry about their appearance.
I know how it'd be. No sooner would I be in Corsica than I'd want to be back in Paris. You see, Emilie might write. The letters would be delayed. Pierre, what's that ship on the other side of the quay? Where's that bound for?
Oh, that also goes to Corsica, just before we sail, a cargo boat. Apparently, a great deal of trading is done with the island.
All I've heard about Corsica is that the peasants are rather like savages, taking no interest in European civilization, and that they keep to themselves. Well, Pierre, a happy journey for you. And you'll write at least once a week.
Perhaps more than that. Don't be too depressed, Louis. The months will pass quickly.
I wait only for the time when Emilie gets back. Goodbye. Take care of yourself. I think we have come on a wild goose chase, Griffo.
But why, Lucien?
Well, all the morning we've been making inquiries here, but nobody has heard of the meeting of any of the Gadici family.
But my news, which I brought to your mother's house, was authentic. I told you that one of the peasants in the lower village has relations who live on the other side of the mountains. And they overheard old Dino Gadici and his brother talking. They're all going to Ajaccio today or tomorrow.
Well, they're not staying at the inn. Where else could they be? Oh, well, we made this trip down from the mountains, Griffo, so we may as well enjoy ourselves while we're here.
Providing that your hand is near your gun. One can never tell if one of the Gadici makes an appearance.
Oh, there is no danger in the town. Even the Gadici know that no killing must be attempted here in Ajaccio. That would be against the law, and the murderer would have to pay.
Some think our customs are strange, but there is a difference between brigandage and cold-blooded murder. It is something the Europeans can never understand.
Talking of Europeans, Griffo, did you notice that 2 boats sailed into the bay this morning?
I've sighted 2 Europeans in the street already.
Sightseers, I suppose. They should leave us alone, Griffo. They come here, wonder at our customs and our habits, praise us to our face. When they return to Paris, they make jokes at our expense. Well, here we are at the inn. I think a glass of wine would be most acceptable. Then you go, Griffo.
Here's Lucien. In I go.
Camille. Wine for 2, please. I must find the Gadici, Griffo, if only to appease my mother. She will never forgive me for last night.
No. Come. Look on this as a holiday, Lucien. Because there's to be a festival tonight in the market square. Now come, forget your family worries just for tonight.
Your wine, Mme de Franchi.
Oh, thank you, Camille.
Oh, Lucien, look, here comes another of those Europeans.
I hope we are not plagued with silly questions.
A glass of your native wine, please.
Yes, Lucien.
Drink it down, Griffo, and quickly. We shall have 2 in rapid succession. It is then that wine can warm and stimulate.
Mademoiselle, can you tell me, how can I make arrangements to travel from here to Bastia?
I have always lived in Ajaccio, monsieur. One of these gentlemen standing there knows the way to Bastia well.
Oh, thank you. Excuse me, monsieur. I wanted to ask you... Great heavens.
What is the matter?
Am I going crazy?
I beg your pardon.
Am I going crazy or... Why, Louis, you rascal, you young rascal. So this is your idea of a joke?
A joke? I do not understand.
Oh, you took the cargo boat just to surprise me. And here you are, standing here before me in the peasant costume of a Corsican. Oh, Louis.
Is Monsieur raving?
Oh, Louis, you'll dine out on this joke for months to come. But even though it is at my expense, it's wonderful to see you. We can explore Corsica together, as we'd planned. Oh, you'll always hold it against me to think that you intended to come to Corsica all the time and withheld it from me.
If Monsieur thinks to joke just because he is a European...
Oh, better and better. Let me look at you, Louis. By heaven, you've assumed an air. An air of this place, its wildness, its ruggedness, and even its scowl. Come, Louis, drink with me. I've sampled this wine already. It's excellent. I don't know what you ordered.
The joke has gone far enough, Monsieur. We Corsicans are hospitable people to strangers, but we don't like to be laughed at.
It's no use, Louis. You can't fool me. If you thought that a peasant costume such as you're wearing, the velvet jacket, breeches and gaiters, and even the dagger and gun could fool me, you were mistaken. Here, girl, fill these glasses again. Oh, Louis, this is wonderful. You and I exploring this island together. I've already found out that you can choose between hiring horses here or buying them. 5 francs a day for hire or 150 francs to buy the horse outright. And I believe the horses will take you anywhere. They know every inch of the ground around these parts.
You spoke of this dagger, Monsieur. If you seek to joke with me further, you will feel it. Stop, Camille. Perhaps at times I drink with strangers, but not strangers who make jokes at my expense.
Louis.
By heaven, if you call me that name again, I'll stab you. You understand? I stab. That is to make you understand, Monsieur, that I am not joking. Come, Griffo.
Oh, yes. Drawn blood. Your chest.
It is nothing. Only a pinprick. Am I dreaming? This is Corsica. I am Pierre Godet, and that man... That man is not Louis Brother.
But of course he is not the name you speak, monsieur. That is Lucien de Franchi.
Who?
Lucien de Franchi. He lives up in the mountains with his mother. They're the only 2 de Franchis left in Corsica.
Lucien de Franchi. But the likeness, Bring me more wine, girl. A long glass.
Yes, monsieur. You know someone who is like Monsieur Lucien de Franchi?
Like him? So like him that it must be, and yet... This dagger, the pinprick here...
Oh, monsieur. Already the blood stains your open shirt. Let me bathe it for you, monsieur.
Thank you.
It's so unlike Lucien to attack Europeans. He's wild and quick-tempered, but never have I heard of such as this. Although, monsieur, you did taunt him, didn't you? You joked with him more than perhaps was necessary.
I think the joke was on me. Tell me, have you known Monsieur de Franchi long, Camille?
Several years. But I've seen him only occasionally when he comes to Ajaccio, which is not often.
And does he live very far away?
He lives on the mountains which overlook Olmeto and Filicaro, which is quite a long way, monsieur.
And he's come here for the day?
Yes, monsieur. My mother heard it from some of the men this morning. He goes back there soon, I think, because the Gadici did not come.
Who are the Gadici?
A rival family, monsieur. There is a vendetta between the 2 families, and Monsieur Lucien has been searching the town for Dino Gadici, who did not arrive.
I see. It seems that the Corsicans are quick to use their daggers. Perhaps it would be unwise to wander alone on the island.
Oh, no, monsieur. All the Corsicans are honest. No matter where you go, no matter how much money you have in your purse, you would never be molested. Those who have to be careful are those who wage the vendetta.
Between Olmeto and Filicaro. So that's where this man lives. I'd like to meet him again. I'd sacrifice all my holiday just to meet and talk to that man again.
Why, monsieur, you're trembling. Perhaps the blade bit more deeply. If I can bathe it for you.
No. I'm not upset because of this wound, Camille. It's just that... Well, I feel that I've seen a ghost. The ghost of someone whom I know now is not really here.
Gaston! Gaston!
Yes, monsieur.
Was any letter delivered today?
No, monsieur.
Oh.
There is a fire in the library, monsieur.
Thank you, Gaston. Thank you. No letter. Yet it's only the first day. I asked for too much. Why should there be a letter? To receive a letter, one should write first. I shall write at once. A paper here? Yes, and a quill. My first letter to Amelie Latouche.
Well, Griffo, I suppose you'll be glad when we reach home.
It's a long journey, Lucien, up through the mountains.
Yes, it is a long journey, because it was all for nothing. Your information must have been wrong. There wasn't one Gadici in the whole of Ajaccio, nor was one expected.
I made no mistake, Lucien. But I know what's happened. You yourself should guess. We ambushed Marianne Gadici. Marianne escaped, and she warned the others. Perhaps they feared a further ambush.
Perhaps so. Ah, Griffo, the summit at last. The best part of the journey. Griffo, look down across the mountain.
I look forward rather to home and a good supper.
You always think of your stomach, Griffo. But me? This could be my supper. The mountains over there, lying one behind the other. The brightest of green here in the foreground. Then behind them, mountains which are blue. Further mountains, pale blue, dark blue, and even purple. And those, the highest of all, with the snow on their peaks. Doesn't it excite you, Griffo? Doesn't it make you feel that you could whip up your horses and ride pell-mell into the distance, tearing through those trees, over those crags, to the very summit of the highest mountain of all?
If you don't mind, Lucien, let us tear for home. My stomach cries.
Griffo. That overactive stomach of yours. All right, come on then. Soon we'll see the house.
Madame will be sitting at a window waiting for us to round the bend. You know, Madame's ears are sharp, Lucien. She'll hear the horses' hooves even now.
It was little wonder that Mme de Franchi paused at the summit of the mountain, because the wild Corsican scenery was breathtaking, almost terrifying in its rugged beauty. Even now, as their horses picked their way through the crags along the rocky mountain path, mist swirled across, and occasionally through the trees there would be a startling glimpse of a mountain lake, hyacinth blue, set like a jewel in a valley below. Or perhaps there would be a turbulent river slashed with black-pointed stones, or a thick forest clustered on the side of a mountain. All these things Lucien de Franchi loved because he was part of them. Finally, as the two horsemen rounded the bend, they looked up expectantly at the lighted window, where, surely enough, old Mme de Franchi sat waiting for the men to come home. The dogs rushed out to give them a welcome, and as they climbed the ladder of the fort-like house, Madame came hurrying out to meet them.
You're early, Lucien. I didn't expect you for hours. Neither you nor Griffo.
You didn't expect us, Mother, and yet you were waiting at the window.
I heard you 20 minutes ago. You should remember that when you come from Ajaccio, the sound comes out of the valley. The sound of hoofs.
But only for your ears, Madame. Surely you have the sharpest ears in Corsica.
But tell me, I am waiting for news. What happened, my son? Did you find any of the Gadici?
Not a one, Mother, not a one. There may be 29 of them, but they're cowards. Both Griffo and myself think that they were frightened that I might ambush them again.
So, your visit was uneventful.
Not quite uneventful, Madame. Tell her, Lucien. Tell her about the European.
Oh, yes. A man came up to me at Camille's, a man whom I'd never seen before.
You almost lost your temper.
Well, he tried me, Griffo. He tried me. Still, this dagger is only for the Gadici.
Dagger? What is all this talk? You fought?
Almost. The man pretended that he knew me. He called me Louis.
He called you Louis?
Yes, he slapped me on the back, laughed with me, and said that I had joked with him and that he was glad to see me.
And even when Lucien asked him to stop with his jokes, he continued, madame.
Until I made him understand that nobody laughs at a de Franchi. Why, Mother. Mother, what's the matter? Mother.
Thank you, Lucien. I feel giddy. I have. Help me to a chair.
Yes, Mother.
Yeah, madame.
This man, what was he like?
Oh, middle-aged. A man of fashion, obviously.
And a tourist. He talked about horses for hire.
And what else did he say? What else? Horses. Listen. Horses.
What?
Horses on their way here.
I could hear nothing, madame, but your ears will have spoken of your hearing.
They come from a Yazio.
The Gadici. Bar the windows. Get out the rifles.
They wouldn't dare.
After my meeting with Mme. Gadici, I know that she would dare anything. She's a tigress, Mother. And perhaps since I ambushed her only yesterday, she and her family might be retaliating. Griffo, go to the front door. Take up the ladder. Bar the front of the house. We shall be ready.
I'll bring up the ladder straight away, Lucien.
And I will see to the rifles. And you, Mother... Oh, Mother. Mother, you've had a bad turn. Was it because you heard the horses? Was that it? If you're frightened...
Frightened? Oh, the Gadici. Don't fling insults at me, my son.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, but I thought for a moment that... Mother, what was it upset you?
Nothing, but you had better prepare. Don't waste a moment.
Nearer and nearer came the sounds of horses. But inside the de Franchi house, all was in readiness. Little did they realize that the man responsible for the sudden activity was none other than Pierre Godet, who ever since he had set eyes on Lucien de Franchi became obsessed with the extraordinary likeness between this Corsican and his friend Louis Prévost. And so Pierre had bought 2 horses, one to ride and one for his belongings, and had taken the mountain road from Ajaccio soon after the others had left. And the situation is not without its humor when we see the Parisian gentleman rounding the bend which leads to this house on the outskirts of the village. A mild, cultured, unarmed gentleman confronted by a fort-like house, its windows barred, its occupants armed with rifles, their trigger fingers pressed. Griffo is the first to recognize the man.
Madame, Lucien, it is the European.
The European?
Aye, the man who spoke to Lucien in the Ajaccio. Look, he wheels his horse in from the road right up to this house. But if he cannot have followed us, we would have known Lucien.
This is all very strange.
Well, perhaps it's a coincidence, Lucien. Perhaps he doesn't realize that in this house is the man he mocked.
And yet, we might be mistaken, Griffo. Perhaps he really thought I was like someone else.
No 2 people could be so alike. That is impossible. Impossible.
Shall I answer the door?
No.
No, madame. You would refuse him hospitality?
No Corsican refuses hospitality. But he insulted you, Lucien. You said he did.
Well, he didn't insult me exactly. I lost my temper because he was so insistent, Mother. But now, well, when I think back, the man seemed genuinely happy to see me. In fact, he seemed delighted. It was almost as though he might have mistaken me for someone else.
Never. No one could be so like you, Lucien. Nobody.
Mother. Oh, Mother, you're not yourself tonight. Perhaps it is the thought that the Gadici were so near yesterday. Or perhaps because I let Marianne Gadici go free.
No, my son. That is past and forgotten.
There he is again. If he passes us, Mother, and goes to the next house, if it is said in the village that we refuse the stranger hospitality, why, it is one of the unwritten Corsican laws. Oh, Mother, if you don't feel well enough to entertain strangers, you can go to your room. We cannot let him pass.
Very well, my son. If it must be, it must be. But let me answer. Let me. Yes?
Is this the house of Lucien de Franchi?
Yes.
I'm a traveler, madame, a tourist. I met your son in Ajaccio today.
Yes?
Is he at home?
My son has just come on a long journey. He is tired, monsieur. What is it you want?
Well, I've come on a long journey, too. It's getting dark, and I was looking for accommodation. I understand that all Corsicans are hospitable, and... Well, madame, would I presume too much if I threw myself on your hospitality?
You prefer to stay here for the night? There are other houses in the village. Perhaps ours is not the most comfortable one, monsieur.
Of all houses, I'd rather stay here, if I'm welcome.
All strangers are welcome. No doubt you were told that in Ajaccio too, monsieur. Wait, I will make arrangements. Grifo,
Yes, madame.
throw the ladder down. The gentleman will stay with us.
Yes, madame. Good evening, monsieur. You remember me?
Why, yes. Oh, yes, you were with Monsieur de Franchi at the inn.
Aye, that's right, monsieur. Just one moment. The ladder will soon be down.
Ladder? It's all so strange to me. A ladder to climb to the front door. Oh, but then I've heard of this from my friend Prosper Marigny.
Prosper Marigny, the writer?
Yes, madame.
Let me take your horses, and you need not worry about these any more tonight, monsieur. They will be well fed and watered.
Oh, thank you. Yes, madame. Marigny is a great friend of mine. You've met him?
Yes, he has written a great deal about Corsica, its people and its customs.
Yes, and this is one of its most charming customs. The goodness, the friendliness of strangers. And yet, there's one in this house whom I feel is not a friend, madame.
Indeed?
Your son. I've been thinking about him all day. That's one of the reasons why I came so far tonight. Madame, it's most extraordinary, but
I'll have you shown to a room, monsieur. Maria? Maria?
Oui, madame.
This gentleman is staying. Get hot water ready and light a fire in his bedroom.
Oui, madame.
We have supper at 7, monsieur.
I was saying, madame, that your son is so very like somebody I know in Paris.
That is not unusual. People are like other people here on this island of Corsica.
Oh, yes, madame. But in this case, it's amazing. You see,
Supper at 7. Maria will take you to your room, monsieur.
Maria conducted Pierre Godet to a sparsely furnished room on the first floor, which looked out to a pretty garden. Mist swirling through it in the gathering dusk, with myrtles and oleanders, and a charming brook crossing it obliquely. Pierre took stock of the plain whitewashed room and wondered at the strange behavior of Mme de Franchi. When he had bathed his face and hands, and shaved and changed his clothes, he opened the door and walked downstairs into the one comfortably furnished room in the house. Here was flowered chintz at the narrow windows, a huge fire roaring in a fireplace of the Italian influence, a great bookcase which stretched across the far end of the room, and a magnificent mahogany table on which was set shining silver and plate. Wandering across to the bookshelves, Pierre Godet was surprised to find that here was an elaborate collection of a family of taste. The great French poets were represented: Corneille, Racine, Molière, and Victor Hugo. And the historians, Chateaubriand and Augustin Thierry. He had just put his hand on one of the Chateaubriand books when he heard a rustle of silk. He turned, and there, standing framed in the doorway, a remote expression on her face, was Mme de Franchi, regal, almost defiant, in a black velvet dinner gown.
A novelist is always drawn towards books, monsieur.
Oh, yes, madame, naturally.
Naturally. You are a little early. It is only 7:45.
Well, I didn't realize it until I came down here and saw the clock over the fireplace. What a lovely room.
A surprise when one sees the outside of this house.
Not only the outside of the house, but, well, the other rooms, madame.
We were a great family once, monsieur. Perhaps the greatest in Corsica. It is the vendetta that has reduced us to this.
Last year I read a book trying to solve such problems as the vendetta in Corsica, madame.
In our case, they will never be solved. Only by blood. I am glad we met before dinner, monsieur. There is one thing I want to say.
Yes.
Today you bothered my son considerably in Ajaccio. It was about this likeness to a friend. Please don't talk of it tonight. We welcome strangers, but not strangers who persist on the same theme.
You guessed that I came out here out of curiosity because of this likeness.
Yes.
Then while we're alone, madame, there's one question I want to ask you.
Yes?
Have you any other sons?
No.
Did you ever have another son?
I have told you, no. Lucien is my only son. There was never another child. Why?
It's just that, well, this boy Louis that I know, he's so much like your son that I thought he might be some relation.
We have no relation. We are the only two living in our line.
Well, all I can say is I never thought that two people could be more alike than your son and my friend.
You will say no more about it.
Oh, if I offend you, madame, of course not. But I do want to say that I appreciate your hospitality and your kindness. This lovely room, the fireplace, the hangings, the mahogany, and it's easy to see that your family has been a warlike one. These weapons hanging on the wall.
Yes, monsieur. Evidence of the bravery of our family in past generations. Swords, arquebuses, and daggers.
Yes. Daggers? Aren't these the arms of San Pietro?
You recognize them?
Oh, I've studied my history.
There is a story behind every one of these weapons.
2 muskets here and... Why, madame, this broken sword.
What of it?
This has a history, too?
Yes.
Perhaps you feel inclined to tell me something about this sword?
Oh, there is so much to tell about everything in this room. There are far more interesting stories. These 2 portraits, for instance.
Just a moment, madame. This sword is broken. Only the hilt remains. I think I've seen the other half.
What?
In another library, in Paris. In the library of Louis Prevost.
Hold your tongue.
You've been fencing with me, madame. Prevaricating. What are you to Louis Prevost?
Hold your tongue, Cassio. Hold your tongue.
My friend Louis Prevost has the other half of that sword.
Why did you come here? Why didn't you leave us alone? We've never done you any harm. Go away, monsieur. Go away before it is too late.
Too late? Madame, there is some dreadful secret. Something that concerns my friend. I demand the truth.
It would have been better if I had refused you my hospitality. Perhaps it would have given the village something to talk about, but anything would be preferable to this.
To what, Mother?
Oh,
Why, what's the matter?
nothing. We were talking about the hospitality of the Corsicans. Is not that so, monsieur?
Yes. Yes, madame, yes.
Stand near the fire, Monsieur Godet. It's getting very cold.
Thank you. I was telling madame how much I admire this room.
Oh, Mother calls it the only civilized room in the house. Or in the village.
Our family was once a great one in Corsica, monsieur. If you follow the backbone of these mountains for a mile along the ridges, you will come across our Monte Rotondo. It is almost a ruin now, but it was built 4 centuries ago by our ancestors, the finest castle of its time.
And you continue to carry on with its traditions?
The few relics gathered here are the only possessions left to us which have any value.
And my mother insists that they all go into the one room to make a show.
Well, Monsieur de Franchi, it is indeed a show. I was telling your mother how interested I was in these firearms on the wall. Especially this broken half of a very fine sword.
After dinner, monsieur, we can talk together. I will tell you everything. But now some wine, Lucien, for the gentlemen.
And for you, Mother. Do you know, Mother, I've never seen you look so pale as you do tonight. That was a bad turn you had earlier.
I am better now, my son. Pour wine for Monsieur Godet and draw up your chairs to the fire.
Yes.
We offer you our own Corsican wine, monsieur. Perhaps it is a vintage which hasn't the bouquet of your French wines, but Europeans generally praise it.
For you, monsieur.
Thank you. The bouquet is excellent, madame. I could be in Paris at this very moment. An exquisite glass, a good vintage, a very comfortable room, and company which takes me back to a certain house on the Rue Garbelais. I could almost be there at this moment. Almost at this moment.
Rue Garbelais, Wednesday. My love, it's 24 hours since I've seen you. I write to tell you what is in my heart. Oh, perhaps it'll offend her. Perhaps her aunt may read it first. Oh, Amelia, how am I to write to you my first letter? If only Pierre were here. He's a novelist. He can put on paper what others feel in their hearts. And yet, the greatest novelist in this world couldn't capture in print what I feel deep down here. How shall I address her? My darling Amelie. My loveliest Amelie. Oh, perhaps this is the most prudent. My dear, my very dear Mademoiselle Latouche.
Monsieur, you flatter us. I know you're used to very much finer food than we have offered you tonight.
What gives you that impression?
Well, monsieur, your Parisian clothes, the very best materials, your accent.
I've no accent.
Oh, no, monsieur, but you speak like a gentleman.
Monsieur Godet has most assuredly moved in exalted circles, Lucien. I knew by his conversation at dinner.
I had no idea that you were so observant. But it's true that we semi-successful novelists have opportunities of meeting the great.
And your friends, no doubt, have the same opportunities? Friends like the young man who resembles my son?
Yes. That young man moves in high society, madame.
Really?
He's been to court several times. He's a great friend of Victor Hugo, of Alexandre Dumas, and George Sand has spoken openly of him. He's much admired among the fair sex, too.
Well, if he is like me, monsieur, that should not be the case. The fair sex find no attraction in me. In fact, there is one who would willingly cut my throat this very night.
Cut your throat?
Yes, one of the Medici. She is one of the celebrated beauties of Corsica. I had never seen her until the night before last. Some call her a tigress. She lives up to her name. If I had not been quick, she would have shot me dead.
Well, I can assure you that my friend is not used to such company.
Monsieur, I wonder if you would excuse me. I had promised to help Griffo this evening. We go hunting in the mountains in a day or two, and there's a great deal of preparation.
Oh, don't worry about me. I'm happy to be talking to your mother. She's a very interesting woman, and no doubt she has many interesting things to tell me.
We shall meet later, monsieur.
A handsome boy.
Yes, monsieur.
So is the other one.
I am not interested in this other one. There is no connection, monsieur.
Madame, perhaps I might be able to help you.
You can help me only if you forget what happened this night. Only if you forget that you have ever been to the house of a family called de Franchi. Please, monsieur, I beg of you. I implore you.
So much has happened, madame, that I can't do that. I've learned enough that I must know everything. Louis Prevost is an adopted boy in Paris. Now I know that Louis Prevost is your son.
Silence! Keep that mouth closed.
I knew when I mentioned the broken sword before dinner. Then later, while we sat at table, I watched your son. Madame, it's uncanny. There's not only the voice, there are his mannerisms. The quick movement of his right hand when he sweeps it across his hair. The way he laughs, throwing his head back and tilting his chin. I felt my hair almost standing on end when I watched him, madame. He is Louis Prevost's twin brother.
There was only one son born.
He's Louis Prevost's brother.
Oh, Monsieur Godet, why did you ever come to Corsica? You have trapped me now. There were only two people who knew my secret. Myself and Pepita. You know by now that the de Franchi family have been engaged in a feud with the Medici. A vendetta which has lasted throughout 200 years.
An incredible time, madame.
This is an island of feuds. It seems to be in the Corsican blood. I will not bore you with the details which concern the beginning of this feud, but I will go back to the time when Lucien and Louis were born.
Then they are twins.
Yes, monsieur. Twin brothers, separated at birth. They lay side by side as one.
Great heavens.
The doctor was forced to perform an operation. That is why, monsieur, these two boys, even though the Mediterranean Sea divides them, still live almost as one person. They are twins not only of the body, but of the mind, perhaps of the soul.
So, I wonder. Good heavens, madame. Perhaps that might explain the strange moods which beset Louis.
Moods? Louis has these moods, too.
Yes, often. Sometimes at the gayest soiree in Paris, Louis will suddenly turn to me and say, I'm in a black mood. I must go home.
A black mood. The very word that Lucien uses. But to continue. After the two boys were born, I kept it secret. We feared that the operation which was performed might not be a success. The countryside knew that there had been a birth, but only two were in the secret. The doctor and the nurse from France, a woman highly skilled. When the doctor pronounced that the operation had been a great success and that the 2 children were healthy boys, we made preparations to announce that twins instead of 1 boy had been born to the de Franchi.
But why did you separate the boys? Why is Louis Prevost living in Paris, adopted, moving in the highest circles there, when he should be here with you?
It was his father's doing and my wish. We were to hold a festival in our home. It was part of the ruin we spoke of earlier, higher up in the mountains. The night before the festival, we were so busy. My husband, myself, and 5 other members of the family had come to stay with us, who would join in the rejoicings next day when the news was made public that twins were born. But how were we to know that the Medici had heard that all the de Franchi would be gathered under one roof? The Medici did not know of the twins, but they knew that 1 child had been born, and so they chose this night to surround the castle and wipe the de Franchi family out of existence with 1 master stroke.
Unbelievable.
When we heard the commotion in the courtyard, when we saw that there were 18 armed men who had taken us unawares, my husband thought we were doomed. But even at the worst of times, there is always hope. He had just fought in my own boudoir with 1 of the Medici. He had broken his sword in 2, but with his dagger he had finished the Medici off. I had slammed the great oak door and barred it and rushed over to my babies, where the nurse, Pepita, crouched shivering with fright. With the thundering and hammering on the door, rending our ears, my husband came over to us. I shall never forget his last words.
Adelia, it seems that there is no hope. They've murdered all except you and I and the babies. Already they're hammering at the door. There's only 1 chance. Now listen. Every second counts. The secret cupboard. There is only room for 1 and perhaps 1 of the babies. Now hide quickly.
But the other baby?
The other boy belongs to Pepita. You understand, Pepita? If they ask you, this child is yours. You brought it from France with you. Now hide under the bed quickly. I'll open the door and give myself up. I'll lead them away from the room. If you're challenged later, you are to say that this is your child.
And so, my husband went to the door, uncoupled the great bolts and the bars, and gave himself up to his enemies. When they asked for me, he told them I was in a room along the hall, and so he led them away.
And you, of course, escaped?
Yes, both Pepita and I and the babies. In desperation, we took with us 2 pieces of a broken sword, a forlorn hope that might bring protection against bandits. It was in this horrible chaos of blood and vengeance that I made my decision. We were the only 3 left on Corsica, the only 3 de Franchi alive. The Medici were determined to wipe us out. I was equally determined that the Franchi would live on. So I bribed Pepita with my jewels to take the other son to France, to change his name, so that he would never fall to the Medici knife or to the Medici bullet. I have never seen Pepita, nor have I heard about my son from that day to this.
This is incredible.
Lucien!
Monsieur, you may never forgive me for what I've done, Mother, but I've heard every word you've said. Mother, why has this been hidden from me for so long?
Don't you understand, Lucien? Sooner or later the Medici will kill us. They must. There are 29 of them.
But there are 3 of us now.
No, not Louis. Please, Lucien, let it be kept a secret.
Keep it a secret? That a son of yours should hide in Paris when you need protection? When your family cries out for vengeance?
Just a moment, Lucien. You must remember that your brother knows nothing about this. He thinks he was an orphan.
My brother. To think that I have a brother. Oh, you might have trusted me, Mother.
I knew I could not trust you, Lucien. Knowing your fiery nature, knowing your untamed will, you would have forced me to bring Louis here to Corsica. Then who knows, he might be wiped out. We might be all wiped out at once, and the de Franchi name would die with us.
I think the decision would rest with Louis in any case.
If he is any kind of a man at all, he will come here. He will fight with me for our mother.
All this talk of fighting? Do you fight from one year's end to another?
It is not like that, monsieur. We hate, yes, all the time. But we fight only when one happens across the other. Once or twice an ambush has been planned, as it so happened the night before last.
And that was only because we heard that the Medici were coming through the pass.
You see, monsieur, they live in the south.
But to bring Louis here, madame... Oh, that would be impossible. Louis's been brought up in the lap of luxury. He's like his brother, yes, the image of him. But he's no mountaineer. I don't think he's ever used a gun. And as for swords, well, he's never held one in his hand.
I am hungry for news, monsieur. You say he is now called Prévost?
Yes, that's right. He was adopted by Monsieur and Madame Prévost, people of great wealth. I understand that Madame's personal maid had a child. Oh, just a moment. The name of this personal maid was Pepita. I remember now.
Pepita. Then it all links up. Pepita must have gone into their employ, pretending that Louis was her son.
Pepita. The Prévosts had grown fond of the child. They had no children of their own, and so they adopted him, employed a tutor, and he was brought up to be a young man of fashion. When I tell him this amazing story...
You must never tell him.
If you don't tell him, monsieur, I will journey back to Paris with you. I will go to him myself.
What did I tell you, monsieur? Lucien has learned the truth, and it seems now that another son's life will be endangered.
When my brother knows the truth, he may help us to win out against the Medici, Mother. One of these days we shall catch them all together. Just you wait and see.
Lucien, your brother is a young man of refinement. Such talk of vendettas and family hates and brigandage is so much fiction to Louis. He's been brought up in the greatest refinement.
Monsieur, you talk as though he were just a Parisian fop.
A fop? Oh, no. Louis is very humble. That's what I admire about him. In fact, at this present moment, he's very much in love with a beautiful young woman. Most of the families in Paris think that he's the catch of this season, but he himself thinks that he's not worthy of Emilie Latouche.
Emilie Latouche? That is her name. A pretty name, too. Emilie Latouche. The letter for Mademoiselle Emilie Latouche. That's the one I mean, Gaston. You're sure it was delivered?
Oui, monsieur. The messenger assured me that it would reach its destination by tomorrow morning at the latest.
All right, Gaston, that's all.
There is wine in the library, monsieur. Your uncle bids me tell you that should you care for a game of piquet, there are 4 tables in the blue drawing room.
Tell my uncle I'm going to bed, Gaston. Going to bed to sleep. I'm very tired.
Oui, monsieur. At once, monsieur.
Did I say to sleep? No. To dream. To the dream of Emilie Latouche. What will she say when she receives my first letter? Oh, Emilie, if only I were with you when you were opening the letter. If only I were the letter itself, so that I could feel the touch of your fair fingers. I love you, darling. One of the scientists has said that thoughts travel like the wind from one place to another. If my thoughts can reach you now, let them say to you, I love you, my sweetheart, darling, above all else in this whole wide world. I'm your servant, your slave, and your worshipper for now and forever. Amen.
Well, madame, it grows late. It's after 2 o'clock.
We have talked and talked, haven't we, monsieur?
I understand. You want to know so much about your other son.
Do not think I am a hard-hearted woman.
Hard-hearted? You made a great sacrifice, madame.
Not really. There was always the comfort that he would not be butchered as my husband was. I did not tell you all my story, monsieur. They took my husband to the highway and hanged him from an overhanging branch so that those passing would see the body.
Oh.
My husband, lord of our castle, swinging like a common thief, dangling on a rope.
You've been through a great deal, madame.
And now you had to come here with your inquiring mind and ferret this secret out. Now that Lucien knows, you know what will happen, monsieur.
I feel guilty now, madame.
My other boy will come back to Corsica. He is not fit for this wild life. They will trample him underfoot, the Medici. You may not realize it, monsieur, but you have murdered my son. The son who had a chance to live.
kindly pay attention to your work?
Oh, Aunt Cecily, it is such a beautiful morning outside. I thought perhaps just to walk in the garden.
Not while the officers of the guard parade on the other side of the wall. Pay more attention to your petit pas. Now, let me see what work you've done today. Good gracious, Amelie, hardly a stitch since you've been up here in the country. You seem to do nothing but daydream.
I'm thinking of the wonderful times I had in Paris, Aunt Cecily.
The wonderful times you would have liked to have had. If I were a hard, ruthless chaperone, I would tell your father that those provocative eyes of yours purposely attracted many young men in every salon in Paris.
And why not, Aunt Cecily? I am 18, and at 18, all the young ladies of Paris should have at least one beau.
Such talk I've never heard. At 18, you should be demure and modest and retired. I don't know what the modern generation is coming to, and the wickedness that goes on behind a girl's fan. The coquettish look, the rolling of the eyes. Really, Amelie, if you do not improve, I shall have to speak to your father. Oh, you may laugh, but I mean it. Now, get on with your work while I go downstairs and give instructions to the housekeeper. Oh, and don't sit near the window, where your eyes may stray to the other side of that wall. Sit here, where I've been sitting.
Yes,
and not directly in the sun. You must not spoil your complexion. Keep your hands covered, too.
Oh, how I hate the country.
Mademoiselle.
Oh, it is you, Yvette.
Mademoiselle, this letter came for you. And Master.
Oh, thank you, Yvette.
I must go back to the kitchen, Mademoiselle.
All right, Yvette. My dear, my very dear Mademoiselle Emilie Latouche. Why, it is not from Charles. Oh, Louis Prévost. Louis. A funny cough like Louis. My dear, my very dear Mademoiselle Emilie Latouche. For 2 hours I have tried to compose a letter before putting this to paper. Since you went away, I have thought of no one else.
Hold your parasol erect, Amelie.
Yes, Aunt Cecily.
And walk like a lady. Chin held high, shoulders erect. The left hand resting gently on your crinoline.
Yes, Aunt Cecily.
I think we will sit here by the fountain and read.
Yes, Aunt Cecily.
Amelie, I wish you wouldn't take your lessons as though they were some form of medicine. I'm your mother's sister, and she's entrusted me with your education. Let me tell you now that what you learn from me is what every young lady should know. It will be a model background for future life. A background that will stand you in very good stead.
Talking of my future life, Aunt Cecily, I suppose soon it will be time for me to marry. Papa said so.
It will be discussed, no doubt, in due course.
Do you remember the young man, Monsieur Louis Prévost?
Louis Prévost? Oh, yes. A very handsome young man with an estimable uncle and aunt.
Papa says I must marry well.
We shall all see to that.
I shall see to it too, Aunt Cecily. Nobody can marry me unless they have enough money to buy me everything that the ladies of the court can afford. Has Louis Prévost a great deal of money, Aunt Cecily?
Louis Prévost, my dear child. Why, the Prévosts are one of the wealthiest families in France.
They are?
Of course. Didn't you know?
I had no idea. Why, at every soiree, at every dance, I took no notice of Louis Prévost until...
What?
Until the last time. Aunt Cecily, Papa will be coming down from Paris tomorrow. I think Papa and I shall talk about Louis Prévost.
So this young man finds favor in your eyes, Amelie?
He is very handsome.
True. But what's more important, he has background, my dear, and the opportunity to provide very comfortably for his wife.
I had no idea that he was so important, Aunt Cecily. In every salon where I've met him, he's had so little to say. Jacques Rene, for instance.
Jacques Rene is a very nice young man, but there are no prospects there.
And will Monsieur Louis' uncle and aunt leave him everything, Aunt Cecily?
Oh, what a little shrew you are, Amelie. 18 years of age, and you talk of money already.
It is very important, Aunt Cecily. It is money that bought René Dalmate her ermine cloak and her string of real pearls. One of these days, I shall have an ermine cloak twice as long as René's, and my pearls will be twice as big.
Tut, child. To hear you talk like this. It's not right, 18 years of age. I must talk with your mother.
You're not only developing into a veritable coquette, but now you seek for the highest bidder in matrimony. It's not right, child.
Not necessarily. You are unjust, Aunt. After all, I cannot help it if the highest bidder is very handsome. Quiet, perhaps, but as handsome as any of the beaux who dance with me in the ballrooms in Paris. So handsome, and yet so rich.
He will be, in time. I know his uncle quite well. They've lavished everything on the boy. Eventually, he'll manage his uncle's estate, and they say that the country residence is the finest in France.
What an enchanting garden.
You talk of gardens, monsieur. All Corsica is a garden.
Are those wildflowers, Lucien?
Yes, monsieur. It is a sign of spring. This whole island bursts into bloom in the spring. Oh, if only you could come hunting with me.
Well, I had planned a 3-week holiday here in Corsica, but now...
Now you feel you must go back to Paris.
I want you to understand, Lucien, that your brother Louis is my best friend in Paris. I feel it's my duty to tell him as soon as possible.
That he has a family in Corsica?
Yes. My boy, it wasn't only because I admire this garden that I asked you to walk out here with me this morning. I wanted to be alone with you. I want to talk to you sensibly.
Mm-hmm. About what?
Do you realize that your mother's life is in danger? That your own life is in danger while you stay on this island?
What are you talking about?
Oh, perhaps it has become commonplace for you, but I think it's most alarming. I want you to understand that your brother is going to be a very wealthy man. I know what his wish will be as soon as I tell him my astounding news. He'll want you and your mother to leave Corsica at once, to come to Paris.
Leave Corsica? Leave my home? Oh, are you crazy, monsieur?
I'm being sensible. There are 29 people on this island who would cut your throat tomorrow, both yours and your mother's.
What about my mother and myself? Tomorrow we could cut the throats of 29 of our enemies. Leave Corsica. What do you think I am, monsieur, a coward? A spineless, crawling creature that would crawl into the soft, downy beds of Paris and hide among the effeminate hothouse flowers that belong to the city?
Oh, Lucien, your conceptions are wrong. When you meet your brother, it might be easier for you to understand.
When my brother learns that his mother needs his help, he will come to Corsica.
Oh, but he couldn't live in Corsica. He has his own life in Paris. He has to consider the people who've adopted him. And also, well, there's a girl.
If my brother refuses to come to Corsica, he is not my brother, monsieur. I will know then that it has all been a ridiculous mistake. I'll believe that my brother is dead. No de Franchi would have dishonored his name and hidden from the Gadici.
Not even if he were brought up in a different environment entirely? If he didn't know until now that the rest of his family existed?
But the Franchis have not one drop of cowardly blood in their veins, monsieur. When you tell Louis the truth, he will come. Of that I am quite sure. Look, monsieur. Look, there is a carp in the brook. There are half a dozen of them there. They always gather over by this rock.
It's so clear. You can see right to the bottom. Why, yes, there's another one.
They live for centuries. Did you know, monsieur?
Yes, I've seen them in France. Carp. With little rings embodied in their tails. Rings which stamp the dates when they were put into the pools.
Doesn't it strike you as strange, monsieur, that we human beings, with all our knowledge, you people of Paris with your supposed learning and scientific achievements, can't discover the wonderful secret of the carp? The secret of long life.
I truly believe it will come, Lucien.
Monsieur. That's what they all say. There's a great stream which flows down from the mountains. Oh, if you could only see the fish then. Monsieur, I know you are anxious to get back to Paris now to tell my brother the truth, but couldn't you put it off for a few days and come with me on this hunting trip?
I feel that your brother should know the true state of affairs at once. Oh, Lucien, you tempt me. Perhaps I will come back, but with your brother.
It will be too late, monsieur. Griffo and I have arranged to go into the mountains early this week. Ah, what a pity. The marquis in the spring. Ah, you'd love it, monsieur.
A pity.
The myrtle and the cistus and the great flowering heath which go right to the mountaintops. You asked me to leave Corsica. Once you have seen it, monsieur, you will not want to leave this lovely island yourself.
Two days later, Pierre Godet made preparations to leave the de Franchis and hurry back to Paris, but not without a deep feeling of regret. As he stood at the door of the fort-like house, saying his last farewells to Madame, Griffo and Lucien were leading his two horses to the front of the house in readiness for his departure. It is a bright, sunshiny day, and the first burst of spring is already coloring the mountains in its loveliness. For the first time since he's been under the de Franchi roof, Madame smiles as she gives him her outstretched hand.
It is a shame, monsieur. We have ruined your holiday.
I'll come back.
And my other son, you will bring him back with you. That is what I fear, monsieur.
It has to be. You heard what Lucien said.
Yes. Perhaps it was wicked of me to divide them in the first place. You see, Monsieur Godet, I have known what others have not guessed. This strange bond between the two boys. Almost as though they were one.
Well, I've tried to reason with your son. But it's no use, madame. Louis must be told. And I think he'll come to you.
Then he will die at the hands of the Medici. Monsieur, if you would be kind to him, do not tell my son in Paris. Pretend to Louis if you like, but let him live his life without the knowledge of Corsica and his family here. If that boy came here, he would not have a chance. Brought up as he is among gentlefolk in a civilized way, how could he hope to fight the sadistic cunnings and the animalism of the Medici?
Don't you understand, madame? If I told him that, your other son, Lucien, would be unhappy for the rest of his life. He'd believe that his twin brother had failed him. No, madame. My duty is as plain as yours. Louis is my best friend. He must be told the truth.
As God wills, monsieur. Here is Lucien and Griffo. Your horses are in readiness. A happy journey, monsieur. Perhaps I did not offer you the hospitality I should have, but when you walked into this house, I knew that my secret was out.
Never mind, madame. Perhaps it happens for the best. Goodbye. Thank you for allowing me to stay. For allowing me to get to know my best friend's twin brother, as I have.
Easy now. Easy. The horses are ready, Monsieur Godet.
Goodbye.
Coming. Did you say goodbye to my mother?
Yes. Perhaps I should have said au revoir. And to you, Lucien, a happy hunting trip. I'm sorry I can't come with you.
There will be time enough in the future, monsieur.
Well, all I can say is, may you shoot down the fattest wild boar in the marquee, and may your hunting bag be crammed with pheasants.
Father, at last.
Oh, I've been riding for 24 hours. Thank heaven to faith. It's a miracle of miracles.
More than a miracle. But how did you know I was home?
I heard in Corsica a most astonishing tale. Is it really true you were trapped by the Franchi and have escaped?
Why, yes, I escaped.
But how? Old Poletto had it from the peasants in the district that it was Lucien de Franchi himself who held you up. One of the deadliest shocks in Corsica, and you by yourself when I should have been with you.
I escaped, Father. It was a miracle, and perhaps the moonlight.
The moonlight? But I would have thought the darkness...
Never mind. I'm safe, that's all that matters, isn't it?
There is much to tell you, Marianne. For the Franchi laid a trap for us in the past. But for your quickness of mind, they would be exulting now. However, I have news. Wonderful news for you.
What is it?
We have the chance to strike back. Also from the peasants came this news. Lucien de Franchi and a friend have gone on a hunting trip into the chestnut forests. I know the exact place and the exact time when we shall catch them.
Oh, Father.
And so we settle the score. Before the week is out, Lucien de Franchi will be dead. Our revenge is almost complete. Isn't it perfect, Marianne? I know the exact spot. It is just below Mount Findus, the plain of Bavaria. There they will be hunting wild boar and shooting pheasants. And we'll be shooting pheasants, too. Pheasants of another feather.
Are you sure of this, Father?
I had it from the peasants on the way through. And you know how they learn these things. We'll show these to Franchi, Miguel. We'll make them bite the dust. By heaven, if only I could get Lucien de Franchi. What a game I would have, what a sport. The proud and noble family of the Franchi.
What would you do?
I would bring him here to our village and torture him until he screamed for mercy. I would have the whole countryside out to hear those screams. The screams of a Franchi begging for mercy from a Medici.
I don't think you would ever hear that.
What? You know the Franchi. You know them for the cowards that they are, the filth.
Yes, of course they are. But they've fought us back over several hundred years, Father. There must be some backbone, surely.
But tell me, what happened when you rode through the park? Oh, if only I'd been with you. Marianne, if anything had happened to you...
There's nothing to tell.
But there must be. Haven't I ridden here at breakneck speed just to make sure you weren't wounded? I can't understand Lucien de Franchi misfiring. One of the deadliest shots in Corsica. And you crossing a bridge at the toss of the time, a perfect mark. How is it that you're here, safe and alive, talking with me this day?
I was captured alive.
You were?
Yes, and, well, I escaped. That's all. There's nothing more to say.
But how?
Lucien de Franchi let me go free.
Let you go free? Oh, oh, Marianne, you are a wonder joke with your old father. De Franchi, to let a Medici go free, that's rich. Pietro! Pietro will relish this. Pietro, the joke of Corsica. My daughter Marianne was set free by Lucien de Franchi.
Set free? Is that a joke, Dino?
A very rich joke, don't you think?
You may be my brother, but you have a very poor sense of humor. A joke is a joke only when it is not fantastic.
And you think it fantastic that Lucien de Franchi would set me free?
I think it much more likely that he'd rend you apart, limb from limb, my dear Marianne. And let me tell you this. He's a very fierce young man from all accounts. Judging from his talk in Ajaccio and in Calvé, he would be merciless. I shiver at the thought when I think that you rode through the pass alone that night. Has your father told you the news?
Yes.
Well, what's the matter, Marianne? Why do you look at us so queerly?
Nothing. Nothing, only... Are you really going up to Mount Santos?
Why not?
Indeed, why not? Perhaps there will be some rending limb from limb then, eh, Dino?
No.
My dear niece, you're not beginning to pity Lucien de Franchi? You who have always professed so much hate.
No, of course not. Naturally, I hate him. I loathe him. I spit when his name passes my lips. But
what?
Never mind. You're tired, Father, and you too, Uncle. I'll see that a good meal is prepared for you and a long glass of wine. You both look as though you need it.
Meanwhile, Pierre Godet sailed on his way from Ajaccio to Toulon and thence to Paris. His one thought was to find Louis Prévost and tell him the amazing truth about his twin brother. However, his plans went a little awry when he hurried up the steps of the spacious house in the Rue Gablet and was ushered into Louis's spacious apartment on the second floor, only to find that young man in a state of excitement bordering almost on hysteria.
Pierre, it's come! It's come!
Well, this is a nice greeting. But perhaps you're referring to me. I've just arrived back from Corsica. Cut my journey short, in fact.
Have you, Pierre? Welcome back to Paris. But look, this letter. It came by messenger this morning. It's from her.
From Mme Latouche?
Yes. Oh, Pierre, I dared not think of it. Even when on the terrace she told me she loved me, I thought to myself, it's the madness of the moon, the enchantment of the night, with the music drifting out onto the terrace and the perfume of the flowers rising from the garden. Such things bewitch a young, beautiful girl. But, Pierre, this proves it. It proves everything.
Show me.
Emilie was called back to Paris suddenly yesterday. Her father and mother are here. This afternoon she'll be walking in the gardens, and she tells me... Here, let me read you this part. Darling Louis. You hear that, Pierre? Darling Louis. Darling Louis, I've missed you so much. I was desolate in the country, but now that I'm back in Paris, my first thought is for you. Naturally, during my first evening home, I must spend it with Papa and Mamma in the house. But this afternoon, I shall be walking with my Aunt Cecilie in the small park in front of the Tuileries Palace. My darling one, I shall contrive that we shall pass in front of the palace gates at 3 by the clock. If you're not there, I shall be desolate.
Well,
Pierre, I'm the happiest man in the whole world. She loves me. Mme Latouche, who could have 100 young men at her feet, worshipping her, chooses me.
congratulations, but... Louis, I came here specially to see you because...
Oh, can we meet later? Please, I haven't time now. I must change my cravat and my coat and breeches. Even now I'll be racing against the clock. The messenger came late. Perhaps while I hurry through my dressing.
No, Louis. What I have to say will demand all your attention, all your concentration.
Oh, concentration. I can concentrate only upon one person, one thing, Pierre. There'll be an event in my life at 3 o'clock this afternoon. I'm meeting my world, my happiness, my entire future.
Your future. If only you could look into your future, Louis.
Easily done, Pierre. I shall look into her eyes, her lovely blue eyes, in front of the Tuileries Palace at 3 this afternoon.
Louis.
Emilie. Oh, Emilie.
You received my note. I thought it might be late arriving.
I've been waiting here half an hour.
But I said 3.
I know, but I was hoping that you might be 5 minutes early, just so that I could have 5 minutes more of your time. Oh, Emilie, you're looking more lovely than ever.
You say the prettiest things. Oh, Louis, darling, if only I could stay, but my aunt, she's over there by the fountain feeding the pigeons. I sneaked away on a pretense. I'm supposed to be buying more grain. I want to tell you, Louis, we've been asked to a ball tomorrow night. I was hoping that you could contrive...
To be there? Tell me quickly, whose ball is it?
Some friends of my father's, the English people, Cromwell.
Oh, I know them, but not well. However, I'm sure I can manage. I must be there.
We can talk more then. My aunt is so severe. A perfect chaperone in her own eyes, but in mine...
Oh, darling, I feel like taking you in my arms and kissing you right here in front of the gates of the palace.
You're a shocking young man, so daring and yet so provocative. You will try tomorrow night?
I'll be there. There's so much I want to tell you, so much about the future. I know your father's in town.
Louis, away quickly. Here comes my aunt. She's seen us.
Oh, Emilie, what will happen? You'll get into trouble.
Never mind, I can manage my Aunt Cecily. Go quickly and remember tomorrow night. Hello, Aunt Cecily.
The young man looks like a hunted rabbit, scurrying down the street. You dismissed him very quickly.
I'm not speaking to you, Aunt Cecily. You promised me 10 minutes.
I've had to forget my promise. It was a very foolish arrangement on your part, Emilie, arranging to meet a young man in front of the palace gates. Supposing some friends of your father saw you as they were driving in, what would he have to say to me?
Never mind, he's gone now, and he thinks I sneaked away from you, and that you know nothing about it.
But why all this subterfuge? Oh, Emilie, you're full of tricks.
This is the best way, Aunt Cecily. A stolen meeting is so much more exciting than an arranged one. And I must always excite Louis, just in case.
In case of what, child?
There must be other young women like me, Aunt Cecily. Young women who are just as attractive. Perhaps they, too, have heard of the great wealth which Louis Prévost which will inherit.
It won't be long before we reach the top of the rise, Pietro.
And then the valley, do you know?
Yes.
Do you think they'll camp in the valley?
Well, we would if we were hunting on the other side of the mountain, now wouldn't we?
Yes, that's true enough.
Besides, it's the only place where he can get water in the district. Anyway, we'll soon know. Sun's almost set. Where he camps, there'll be a spiral of smoke. Oh, here we are, Pietro.
How lovely the setting sun. The Valley of Peace, the Corsicans have always called it.
Perhaps that's an omen. With Lucien de Franchi dead, there will be peace for us, the Guidici. Peace after 2 centuries.
Yes, still the mother.
No, she's of no account. There'll be no sons to carry on the name. For there's one woman against so many of us. She's of no account at all. We could put her out of existence almost at once, as soon as the sun's removed.
You know, look.
A spiral of smoke. My information was correct. So Lucien de Franchi and his friend camp on the plain, eh? It's growing dark already now the sun has gone. This will be their last night, Pietro. Their last night of living. While they are asleep in their tent, we shall creep upon them and stab. Stab hard.
As the long fingers of dusk crept from the horizon down the misty peaks to the lovely valley, darkening its hue from dark blue to lilac and then to purple, the two Gadici carefully made their way down the tortuous mountain path which led to the valley. The spiral of smoke still went heavenward as the two hunters, Griffo and Mme de Franchi, sat over a baked pheasant, part of the spoils from their hunt that day. Little did they realize that down the dark mountain threatened death was making its way. Death in the form of a dagger, behind which was the vengeance of hundreds of years. Make sure you hear the next enthralling episode of the Corsican Brothers.